My name is Aaron, and I used to believe warnings were just words. You know, don't touch, do not enter, danger ahead. They're meant to scare kids or stop curiosity. But there's one door in my apartment I should have never ignored, the one with the scratched label, Do Not Open. The building was old. I moved in just 2 weeks ago, desperate for a cheap place after a breakup. The landlord gave me the keys but warned me about the closet in the hallway. It's sealed. Don't touch it. It's always been that way. Just leave it alone. Of course, I laughed. What kind of horror movie cliche was that? At first, I didn't care, but as days passed, I noticed something strange. Every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., I heard scratching from behind the door. Not mice, not pipes. It sounded deliberate, like nails dragging across wood. And then came the whisper, a deep, low voice from behind the door. I know you're listening. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep at all that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the cabinet shaking. By morning, I was convinced it had stopped, but I couldn't bring myself to check. I skipped breakfast. I skipped everything. I just sat across the room watching the cabinet. At 11:47 a.m., something new happened. The door, the one with the tape that said, Do Not Open, clicked. Not a loud bang, just a soft, mechanical click, like a lock giving way. I froze. My breathing slowed. I stared at the cabinet, praying I had imagined it. But then, the door opened. Not all the way, just a crack. Just wide enough for the darkness inside to spill out and settle over the floor like ink. I backed up slowly. My mind screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. A sound came from inside. Not a voice, not even a growl. It was breathing. Slow, deep, wet. Something inside that cabinet was alive, and it knew I was there. I took another step back. That's when the breathing stopped. Suddenly, the entire room felt like it had been vacuum sealed. No sound, no air, just pressure. Thick and suffocating, as if the walls were closing in. And then, I saw it. A hand slowly emerged from the crack. But it wasn't like any hand I'd ever seen. It was long, pale gray, with 6 fingers, each tipped with rotting black nails. It moved like it had too many joints, twitching and spasming with every inch it crawled out. I couldn't move. My body was no longer mine. Then the door swung open fully. Not fast, but deliberately, like the thing inside wanted me to see it. There was no light in the cabinet, just void. But the longer I stared, the more I felt like it was staring back. A voice whispered, directly into my ear, even though I was alone. You looked. My heart dropped into my stomach. Now it's my turn. And something crawled out. It moved in a way that broke logic. Not walking, not crawling, more like gliding, joints bending backwards, bones crackling with every slithering inch as it spilled from the cabinet like smoke turned solid. Its face was the worst part. It didn't have one, just skin, stretched tight over where features should be, no eyes, no mouth, no nose, but somehow I could feel it grinning. And yet, it spoke again. You saw me. Now, they all will. Suddenly, every mirror in the room shattered. All at once, like a wave of invisible force slammed through the apartment. Shards rained down, slicing into the walls, my skin, the air, and behind every broken reflection. It was there. Not just one. Dozens of it, standing in every mirror's broken piece, watching me, copying my movements, leaning in closer every time I blinked. My lights flickered, my ears filled with a deafening rising hum. And then, in a flash, silence. The creature was gone. But now, every surface, every reflection showed me standing with it behind me, even though I was alone. And the whisper came back, one final time. Don't look behind you. The next morning, Luke woke up with dry blood under his nose and a strange metallic taste in his mouth. He checked his phone. No messages, no missed calls, no evidence of last night, except for the closet door, which was now wide open. He froze. That door was shut, locked, tied with 2 belts. He remembered. He tied it himself. The belts were now lying on the floor, sliced clean through as if cut by something sharp. Not torn, not broken. Precision cuts. Luke picked up his phone and turned on the flashlight, slowly approaching the open closet. Inside, only darkness. No clothes, no shelves, no walls. Just a tunnel. A tunnel made of something that looked like flesh and wood, winding deep into an unnatural blackness. The walls pulsated faintly, breathing. He tried to back away, but the door slammed shut behind him, trapping him in the room. Then he heard it. From the tunnel, something crawling. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Relentless. Click, click, click like claws on bone. And then the whisper returned. You opened it. Now it opens you. Luke stood frozen, his breath shallow and rapid. The whisper echoed in his ears as if it had been spoken from inside his skull. He backed away from the tunnel, but there was nowhere to go. The room was warping, the walls melting like wax in a furnace. Suddenly, the light on his phone flickered, then died. Total darkness. Only the sound of breathing remained, but it wasn't his. It was deeper, hungrier. Luke pressed himself against the now vanished wall where the door had been. He reached into his pocket, fumbling for anything. Keys, a lighter, something. And then a flash, a pale face, too close, staring at him from inside the tunnel. Its eyes were stitched shut, its mouth wide open, showing no tongue, only a black void that seemed to suck in the air. Luke screamed, but the thing didn't move. Instead, it opened its arms slowly, beckoning him, and as it did, the whisper returned again, louder, more urgent. Feed the door, or be the door. Then something slithered past his foot. Luke looked down. Fingers, human fingers, crawling like insects. I stared at the box. It hadn't moved, hadn't made a sound, but it felt alive. The longer I looked at it, the more I could swear something inside was breathing. I backed away slowly, still gripping the camera with shaking hands. The warning on the lid burned into my brain. Do not open. Written in a desperate, jagged scrawl. I should have left it alone. I should have thrown it in the fireplace, but I didn't. Instead, I set it in the middle of the table, placed the camera in the corner of the room, and hit record. All right, I whispered into the mic. This is night 2. The box has been here for 24 hours. I haven't touched it, but it whispers sometimes. I hear it when I'm almost asleep. As if on cue, a faint scratching came from within. Skirt, skirt. It was slow, deliberate. From inside, I felt my stomach twist. Then something changed. The air turned dense, heavy like syrup. Every sound became muffled as if I were underwater. The box pulsed, actually pulsed, like it had a heartbeat. And then it began to open, not all at once. Just a slow, subtle lift of the lid, like something was testing me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The camera started glitching. Static crackled in my ears, lights flickered above me, and from inside the box, I saw it, just the top of its head, pale, rotting. Black strands of wet hair clung to its skull. It looked straight at me, without even revealing its eyes, and then I heard it, clear as day, spoken in a rasp that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. You opened it. I closed my eyes, bracing for the end, for whatever horror was about to burst out of that cursed container. But then, silence. Not the comforting kind. No, this was a vacuum of sound, like the world itself had stopped breathing. I slowly opened my eyes. The box was still there. The lid was shut. Yet, something had changed. The air felt heavier, like it was pressing against my skin. The shadows in the room stretched unnaturally along the walls, pulsing like veins. And then I realized the box didn't need to be open. It had already opened something else. Me. I stumbled to the mirror hanging crooked on the hallway wall. My reflection was gone. In its place stood a version of me with pitch black eyes, a sick grin stretching impossibly wide. It raised its hand, my hand, and slowly placed one finger against its lips. Shh. Then the mirror cracked. From that day forward, I was no longer alone in my body. I could feel it watching, waiting, whispering behind my thoughts. And sometimes, late at night, when I walk past the hallway, I hear the faint creak of the lid shifting. Still unopened, but not sealed. Do not open. You'll never be able to close it again.